to order. If Mr. Conrad would please sit down. I've been waiting to say that for a long time. Thank you for being here tonight. We are honoring the class of 2022, and I had some of these kids in class, and I'll tell you, this is one of our outstanding groups we've had. We've had outstanding groups over the years coming into the Hall of Fame. So I think we're in for a great evening, a delightful evening, and so much to celebrate. And so I hope you enjoy yourselves. We're going to make some introductions and a couple of things before we go through the line. And so as I call your name, if you will please stand, I would really appreciate it. If you don't, I'm going to call it again. This is the 27th year of the Washington High Hall of Fame. And we have two charter members here tonight. I hope I don't miss anybody, but I have Wayne Carney and Mark Murren. If you would please stand up. They started, they were part of the start of this. And if you look in your booklet, you can see the other names, and they are longtime Washington High people. Even the person that made the greatest mistake of his life and hired me to be a teacher is in there, Mr. Arnie Bauer. So Arnie told me that was the best decision he ever made, and I said, really? Are you kidding me, kiddo? The history of the building is something I like to mention. If you're not familiar with what I call Old Washington High, where you're seated right now is where the Central High School building stood. And my grandmother attended Central High School, and then in 1908, Washington High School became Washington High School. The first building on this property was in 1873. And think back upon that. If you see some of the old pictures from Sioux Falls, it's pretty amazing. If you go in the corner out here, there's some history of the building and the Great Hall, the auditorium, but they have there a picture of this area before it was built, and it said, pass the bond in 1932. So they were dealing with bond issues then as we are today, and successfully they completed that. And this building is, it stands for so many things, as does current Washington High. There's so much pride and so much honor with that we applaud that, and we honor that tonight with everybody here. Also, before I forget, well, I won't forget, but we have an alumni hall on 3rd floor. It's free. You don't have to join the pavilion, although we'd like you to join the pavilion, but it's free. And some outstanding people. There's an alumni committee, historical committee led by Mr. Mick Zur, who taught at Washington for years. And the showcases, excuse me, the old trophy cases are up by decade, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and so forth. And I really encourage you to go up there. There's a classroom that was actually cut in half, and it's supposed to be a classroom. People have said to me, were they really that small? And I said, no, but I said, they cut that one, which, that wasn't the one that was supposed to be our classroom, but that's another story. But it's really a very cool area. And as you walk down that 3rd hall, on the walls, they have pictures of drama, music, athletics, homecoming, groups that no longer exist as far as clubs and so forth. And I really encourage you to go up there sometime and look. When I taught at Washington High, I taught composition. One of the assignments that my students had was to compare and contrast both buildings. And I said, this isn't a popularity contest. I don't want to read a paper about I like this building better than this building, because our current building is absolutely wonderful too. But I said, just look at the contrast. So kids would come down here, and not very often did kids say, hey, that was really a fun assignment. But they would usually say that after that. They really enjoyed coming down here. So I encourage you, whether it be tonight or come down sometime, please do that, because the old hallway still has the old flooring and the old systems that were on the wall. We don't have the lockers, but some of those are downstairs. But anyway, it gives you a sense of what the building looked like. And look at the trophy cases and look at some of the things that are in there. It's just a real tribute to our past. And that was all done by former Washington High teachers and administrators, and they did an outstanding job. And I am forever hold gratitude to them for that. Now, we have a couple people, 3 people that aren't here tonight that I'd like to mention. We lost some good people this year. I guess we always lose good people. There aren't people that aren't good, but some Washington High family members. We lost Baltus Fritzmeyer, the longtime Washington High basketball coach, and I knew Fritz a little bit when I was in school. He'd gotten out of coaching by then, but I took attendance for him in the cafeteria down here. He was just a delightful man. Just a great guy, and if you read, there's a book out on World War II, and Fritz was quite an honored and decorated soldier in the European theater. And so if you get a chance to look at that, it's a story. We also lost John Norberg, a longtime teacher. John taught at Axtell for years. When he left Axtell, I got the job. When he retired from Washington High through the help of Mike Piper also, because Mike and John taught together, I got that job, and I told John at the time, I hope you don't pass too soon, because I don't want to keep following you. John often did a lot of volunteer for Washington High, but he also did the announcing for many years when the old building here, the last couple years, and then, of course, at the new building. John was also a Washington High graduate. And this week we lost John Odney. And I have to tell you that there's a hole in my heart because John was probably my best friend. And that's not an easy one to deal with. John was supposed to be here tonight. Dan Goldman was going to bring him, and John passed away a week ago, Wednesday, and his funeral's tomorrow morning. We honor John. He was one of also the founding members of this committee. And John taught for many years at Sioux Falls, Washington, later taught at Roosevelt, and had the 83 undefeated season at Washington. And that just doesn't happen real often. He did a nice job, and he was really a coach for everybody. They call me Coach by John Wooden. If you are familiar with that, and if you're not, please take a look at it. It really exemplifies who John Odney was. And we're going to miss him, but at the same time, his legacy will live on. And so many of you, I look at your faces and I think of how often John mentioned you, talked about you, and he so appreciated the friendships. And so we honor all 3 of those people tonight, and they were all good people and good Washington High people. So, you know, just kind of hold them close to your heart and their families. And we'd also like to say a word of just thinking of her, Jan Nicolai, tonight. That Jan was going to be here and has had a couple of health issues, but we're thinking of Jan tonight too, as she stood proud and tall with Washington High. There's a cornerstone in the building that states, and it's from June 16th, 1935. Students of Central School had the following engraved in the northeast cornerstone of the historic building. The thing of most value and joy that takes place here is the flow of human interest. It is the spirit of the institution to be human in all of its activities. May the days spent here be filled to overflowing with scholastic attainment, courteous conduct, joy and happiness, so that the rest of the journey progresses. Each life shall abound with gladness, and our high school days shall ever remain a happy memory. With that, I would like to introduce just a fantastic group of kids who have joined us tonight, seniors from Washington High. I'm going to introduce you, and I would like you to stand. I know you don't want to, but please stand. We want to honor you because Lowell Hansen taught me this when he was the MC. You're the reason in many ways we are here. And who knows, in a few years when I'm 95, I might be emceeing the banquet and introducing you. I hope you get in before then. Our first athlete student is Abraham Myers. Abe, stand up. Abe is a football player. He wrestled, and he runs track. So good for you, Abe. Thank you for being here. Trig Otten. Trig? Trig played football and plays basketball. And if you watch any of the Warrior games this year, you saw both Abe and Trig pretty involved this season. So great to have you here. Hannah Hart. Hannah? Hannah's a soccer player. She She's a girls basketball player, so congratulations and thank you for being here. Brooklyn Harp. Brooklyn. Soccer and girls basketball. They told me when I met them they're not related, but I don't believe them. So. Lexus Motley. Lexus is girls basketball and track, so your season's coming upon you, kids. Jocelyn Richardson. Jocelyn's a volleyball player, so you've got some good things coming your way too. So congratulations, and really, honestly, thank you. You guys are busier than the rest of us in your seasons and so forth, but thank you for being here, and please take in what happens tonight. Okay, thanks. We have some guests tonight, and I don't know if I'm going to see that everybody's here, but I'd like to mention some people in the district that are here. Is Dr. Jane Stavin here, our superintendent? Thank you, Dr. Stavin, for being here. We have former principal Carla Midland here. Carla, please stand. Carla is also in the Hall of Fame. So we have Mr. Bill Hoff. Please stand up, Mr. Bill. We have Jamie Knoll. He's filling two roles here. He's a former principal, but he's also assistant superintendent. Good to see you, Jamie. We have Mr. Dan Conrad, the current principal of Jefferson High School. And we have Carrie Papke, the current principal of Washington High School. We have current AD Nate Melchow. Former athletic director Wayne Carney. Former athletic director Kevin Kennedy. I was Kevin's assistant in Lead High School 30 years ago this year. We got 48 inches of snow the last week of September. And John Odney ended up getting stuck at my apartment in Lead. And he had a car, the bumper had been pulled off. It was a gray Grand Prix, and we called it Jaws. But when they pulled him out, it looked like a shark going down the streets. I would like any current Washington High coaches to please stand. And I know you guys are busy, but if there's anybody here, any of our coaches, thank you. That says a lot. These folks are busy. I've been there. That's a real honor to have you folks with us tonight. Thank you. Any former Washington High coaches that are here, please stand. I was one too, but I'm standing anyway, so you're not going to know what I was or what I am. Previous Hall of Fame inductees, please stand. With that, we are going to start the dinner process. It looks like these folks are ready for us. They're probably wondering why I keep talking. We are going to start with the inductees and their families first, and then we're going to start seniors. When you see those folks start going through and the line is whittling down, seniors are going to go. And I don't know what these two characters are doing here, but they get to go. No, you guys get to go, and then we'll just go rows and rows and rows, and so please enjoy yourself, and I'll be back up here in a little while to talk to you about some things. So thank you for your attention, and have a good evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started. I could easily say it's me again, so I'm back. And while many of you are still eating and enjoying, please continue to do that. We want you to just relax and enjoy the evening, take in what the inductees have to say, and again, if you need to get up and get something, do that. This is a family-friendly event, and we want you to feel comfortable here too. So, with that, there's a couple things I'd like to say concerning, and you can look in your program, but please take note of what the purpose of the Hall of Fame is, the duties of the Hall of Fame, and please look at the induction categories. Now, I can read these to you, but I think it'll probably be helpful if you take a good look at them, and you will see that there's some pretty high standards here. And the committee, which I was fortunate to be a part of for many years, we would really tussle over some things and tussle in a way that, you know, we didn't want to leave anybody out, anybody that was worthy. And I'm going to mention this at the end of the program, but I'm going to mention it now. When I was on the committee, people would come up and say, well, why isn't so-and-so in and why isn't so-and-so in? And my answer is very quick to that. If you want so-and-so in, please fill out a nomination form. Fill out any kind of letter you want, handwritten, type, whatever, and submit to Nate Melchow or any committee members, and you being a part of the nominating process will really enhance the situation. Instead of the committee going back and looking through yearbooks and so forth, you will help that because it's easy to miss people, and we don't want to do that. So please, please, please look at the qualifications for an athlete, coach, administrator, and contributor. And if you have somebody in mind, do not hesitate. I can tell you that there's going to be a lot of nominations the next few years, because if you look at the athlete, they have to be out at least 10 years. And if you subtract 10 years from this year, you're getting into some pretty darn good athletic teams at Sioux Falls, Washington High School. So again, I'm going to put that on the families and friends a little bit. Please get those nominations into people. That will really help the committee. With that, I do want to introduce the committee, because these are people that have just worked their tails off. And behind the scenes, nobody gets paid, and they do it out of love for Washington High. So with that, I'd like Jeff Kale to please stand. He's the chairperson of the committee. Jim Trett is the vice chair. Nate Melchow is the assistant principal of activities. The treasurer is Brian Hermanson. The secretary is Jamin Ratzlaff. We also have Shane Riley, Steve Sievertson, and Matt Schultz. And if you have interest in being on the committee, let them know too, because it's a rotating situation, and I know that they are always looking for new members, and after about 6 years, you're kind of ready to sit back and relax and watch other people do it. But they do an outstanding job, and thank you very much. It takes a lot of organization. And we'd like to thank the Pavilion. We sort of have an unwritten rule with the Pavilion that they give Washington High a little bit of a break every year, and we appreciate that very, very, very much. For many years, we were in other places, and we were treated very well in the other places, but this is a special place to be here with Washington High, so thank you again. Tonight, we are going to honor a truly outstanding class of Hall of Fame inductees. I'm going to read the names, and then I will call them up, and they will speak, and we will just kind of go in that rotation, and I'll have some closing remarks, and then we'll be on our way. Mercedes Stowsbury Doherty, an athlete from 2011, graduated. Rachel Walters Dreetz, 2011 athlete. Sammy, I can't say Samantha, but I should probably. Sammy Smith Henning, an athlete, graduated in 2011. Matt Hermanson, athlete, graduated 2011. Alex Holm, athlete, graduated 2011. Brandon Moore, athlete 2011, and might I add, new father. Devin O'Farrell, athlete 2012. And Coach Mark Murren, the class of '74, Lincoln High School. Mark and I are the same class. I happen to go here, he happened to go there. We'll talk more about it.
I gotta figure it out later.
What a group. This really is an outstanding group, and so you're here to see them, not me. And our first person will be, excuse me, Mercedes, I am so sorry. Mercedes, if you'd like to come up here, Mercedes. You'll just stand here for a moment. I asked each inductee to submit a list of a few interesting things, so I'm not reading off the program, which you can read. Excuse me. So I asked them if they played Major League Baseball, what their walk-up song would be. And you gotta love this. Mercedes chose Paw Patrol, and Coco Melon, is that correct? Yes. So I thought, okay, I better Google these songs to make sure it's not a rap song that we can't, use. And she's obviously a very proud mother, and she will talk more about that. Her comment on Washington High is a special place in heart. It is somewhere I was able to grow and mature as a student and athlete. Washington High is where I've made lifelong friends and memories, from bus trips, going to other sporting events with friends, and winning championships. I asked the kids also to say, instead of what I needed to learn in kindergarten, what I learned in life, I learned at Washington High. A couple didn't reply, I understand that, but all I ever needed to know I learned at Washington High. Look people in the eye when they're speaking, always give a firm handshake, jump for rebounds even when you're taller than most of the other team. Once a warrior, always a warrior. And with this, Washington High is very proud to introduce and induct Mercedes Stowsbury Doherty.
Came a little prepared. First off, would like to thank everyone who helped in deciding to have me in Washington's Athletic Hall of Fame. If I'm being honest, when I received the message about being in the Hall of Fame, I was a little shocked, and I was thought it was fake. I didn't know if it was real or not, so I had to just double check, and it was, so it was cool. In that moment, I felt honored, surprised, and grateful to be a part of this year's inductees. The biggest thank you I need to give to is my parents. They are the ones who have always encouraged me and always supported me throughout my athletic career. Growing up, I spent summers filled with basketball camps, volleyball camps, open gyms, and tournaments all over the Midwest. Whether it was for sports or school or AAU or Junior Olympic volleyball, my parents never missed a game. I will always remember my dad being my biggest contributor to my success. He was always there to be my rebounder, my defender, my coach and mentor. I did not think I was gonna cry. Wow. Before basketball camps or even open gyms, when I wasn't able to drive yet to school, he would be there to shoot around with me and rebound for me as I would warm up. Golly, okay. My biggest thank you goes out to also my coaches that I had throughout the years. Chow and Neshji especially. I know Neshji couldn't make it tonight, but Chow and Neshji especially. Chow, you had given me an opportunity as a freshman to be on the varsity team when a senior had a season-ending injury. One thing I'll never forget that she said to me was, never let a freshman take your spot. From that day on, I never took playing sports for granted. Even though I did get injured my senior year, thankfully it wasn't season-ending. I only missed 2 weeks and came back for districts against Lincoln, and we played them the third time that year. We won. Neshji, I know you're not here, but I wanted to thank you for always believing in me. I remember I wasn't going to play volleyball my senior year. I wanted to focus more on basketball. I may not have been an all-star volleyball player, but I had a meeting with Nessie and she encouraged me to keep playing. And between these two sports, whether it was running warpaths for volleyball or the closeout drill in basketball, I knew it was to make us better as a team. The Athletic Hall of Fame is something I always saw in school, walking by in the hallway, and thought it would be kind of out of reach for me. However, I'm grateful for this honor as it has allowed me to go through my scrapbooks and the newspaper clippings my mom had saved and made the scrapbooks for me, and it was nice to reminisce about the good old days back at Washington. Rachel, Sammy, and I, this is kind of cool that we're all inducted together. We have had the high highs of winning a state championship together, but also the low lows of losing first round of state when we were seniors, and then along with injuries. We played together from middle school to high school, and then even in college with Sammy, and we played against Rachel when we were as well. Whether it was basketball or volleyball, I'm forever honored and grateful to have played for the best coaches in the state and made some of the best teammates and best memories. Attending playing sports for Washington is something I will always remember and proud to say that I played for Washington High.
Glasses.
Our next inductee is Rachel Walters. Rachel, her walk-up song is "The Show Goes On," and so you'll have to look that up. She had a long list here, and I'd sing it to you, but I want people to stay. I don't want people to leave. Rachel also wrote that all I ever needed to know I learned at Washington: be kind to everybody, show up on time, give maximum effort, learn the Pythagorean theorem, which I haven't used since. How well I know that? Me. Don't take yourself too seriously. Be accountable for your actions. Don't get caught sneaking out of the house. I'd like to hear more about that one. You're only as good as the teammates that you're surrounded by, which is the reason I'm here today. Her most influential person chosen was Nate Malchow. Chow helped her become the person she is. And the quote that best describes Rachel is, "Don't take life too seriously. Always find time to laugh. Remember that laughter not only adds years to your life, but adds life to your years." Washington High School is extremely proud to be inducting Rachel Walters Dietz into the Hall of Fame. Rachel?
All right, my name is Rachel. Just to avoid any confusion, I graduated in 2011. Didn't notice it says 2012 up here, but I just want to start off by saying thank you for this lovely event. This is such an honor to be here, just with each and every one of you tonight. So thank you again for inviting us to be here, and congrats to all the other inductees. Definitely a little intimidated. Everyone here is a multi-sport athlete. I chose to just play one. I was a little bit lazy in high school, so I just stuck with the one sport. I want to thanks to all my family that's here. They were at all of my basketball games in high school, and it's pretty cool to be able to be here 10 years later with them now. So my aunt and uncle, Ted and Glenda, are here. My mom and dad, Clint and Renita. My grandpa and grandma, Glenn and Norma. And then thank you to my husband, Corey, and his family who are here, who we didn't know in high school, but they've been supporting me throughout my college career and ever since. And also to my brother, Charlie. It is his birthday today, but as per usual, I'm taking all the attention, so. So thank you all so much. Let's see. And also, I just had the greatest experience at Washington. I just want to thank everyone that I got to play with and my coaches. It's the only reason I was able to go on and play college basketball. And I know I kind of alluded to this in before, but I just want to thank Coach Melchow. I would have never been able to go on and play college basketball if it wasn't for you. I know I had a tough 4 years in college, and luckily I made it through, but I remember after one tough game, didn't play very much, and I went and checked my phone, and I had a random voicemail from Coach Melchow. I hadn't heard from him in a bit, and just want you to know how much that meant to me and helped me get through those just long 4 years of college, we'll call it that. Also want to thank my dad. He was my biggest supporter in high school, and he would probably tell you I was a little bit dramatic. He's probably not wrong. I used to get done with games and practice and tell him, this is so hard, I want to be done, I don't want to do this anymore. He'd say, well, then quit. I'm like, well, that's dumb. Why would I quit? So I see what he was doing now, but we made it here today. But I'm so honored to be a part of this, and like I said, thank you so much for this, and thank you all for being here.
Our next inductee is Sammy Smith. Sammy Smith Henning. I want to make sure we include all of that. Sammy's walk-up song is called Warrior by Hannah Kerr. So there you go. That's a good one. Hi, Sammy. Some of these kids are my former students, too, so it's just really a proud moment to think they made it under my tutelage. Facing adversity, not only as an athlete in high school, but the varying bumps along the road as an adult, the song makes me feel empowered to keep battling and stay strong in the face of challenges. All I ever needed to know I learned in kindergarten, okay. All I ever needed to know was treat others how you want to be treated, respect one another, work hard, never give up, give it your all. Who's the most influential person who gave you the impetus to just keep going? Eric Smith, my father. He was not only my dad, but my teacher and coach. He motivated me to be the best in each aspect of being a student athlete. He showed me what it was to be a warrior from a young age. He taught me how to work hard for myself and others and how to be a great teammate and leader. The phrase that best describes, and this is Sammy's choice, I'm hardworking, determined individual with a never give up attitude. You just never give up. You do a task to the best of your abilities and beyond. And I love this. It's from Debbie Reynolds. So we are so happy at Washington High to induct you, and welcome to the stage.
Hey everyone, thank you for having me tonight. Like you said, a never give up attitude. Well, you're gonna have to never give up with me during this speech, okay? I'm not the best public speaker. But first I just wanna, give a huge thank you to all my coaches. As you probably read in the book, I'm a 4-sport athlete through Washington, so I've got several coaches to thank. Started with some cross-country coaches, Coach Harrison and Coach Schultz, Coach Riley. I'd also like to thank Coach Malchow, Coach Schleckway, and Coach Toft. And Coach Johnson. She was with me through a tough junior year when I tore my ACL. She was very supportive of me and helpful through that hard time. I'd like to thank my other coaches, Coach Gebhardt. He was the head track coach at the time that I was in track and field there. And I'd also like to thank Coach Doug Rinkin. He was my golf coach. Growing up, like I said, I'm a coach's kid. I've always been around Washington High, and it's always been my dream to be athlete there, and when I finally got my chance as an 8th grader in golf, I was very welcomed by a great group of Washington Warrior girls. Once I was at Washington High, I had the privilege of being on a state championship team, and I had great teammates like you've just mentioned that we just saw, Sadie and Rachel Walters as basketball teammates. And then I also had great track athlete teammates who allowed me to be a part of a state championship relay team in the sprint medley and the 4x400 relay. I also want to just briefly talk about, along with thanking the coaches, I want to thank their families. I mean, you guys really are behind these coaches and letting them support these student athletes. Today, on my way to Sioux Falls, I was trying to think of the last time that I wore a Washington uniform and probably how I performed to end my career. It wasn't something I could truly pinpoint, but tonight is something that was truly, truly special to me. I will never forget this honor of being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And with that, I just want to also give a big congratulations to the rest of the inductees tonight, and also a big thank you to my family for coming and supporting me tonight, and my crazy kids who are who knows where running around. Thank you again. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Matt Hermanson. His intro music, walk-up music, is by Riss Parker, called Never Seen. I didn't know this, but Riss is from Sioux Falls. Okay? I'll let you look at the lyrics. Matt tells us the Washington High taught, just a direct quote, Washington High taught me so much more than I can put into words. That's why I'm coming back to accept this honor. The most influential people in my life were my teammates and my father, Brian. We had a real family team, and everyone is considered a brother. So what more can you ask for than accomplishing goals with family? I owe it all to them. Washington High School is very honored to honor Matt Hermanson and induct him into the Hall of Fame.
I'm not much of a public speaker, so I'll keep this short and sweet. First of all, I want to thank Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, for allowing us to be here tonight. What a great day we had. I also want to give thanks to my family. They've been there for every step of the way. Like Sammy, I'm a coach's kid. Everyone probably knows my dad, Brian. Right? He went in the Hall of Fame 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm actually the third Hermanson to be going into the Hall of Fame. My uncle over there, Barry, is the first one to go in, so pretty special moment for us as a family. My mom went to all my games. She went to all my college games. Can't ask for better. Sister was there too. Can't forget about her. She brings up the caboose, but she's a firecracker. She does. She'll be in the Hall of Fame someday, at least in our hearts. But another thank you I want to give is to all the coaches out here. I mean, you guys sacrificed so much time molding us kids. I mean, we wouldn't be where we are without you guys, so thank you very much. We appreciate it so much. I want to thank my teammates. Like I said, they were all my brothers. They know they can count on me for anything. I'm there for them always. I love them so much. It was just truly a special moment to be able to accomplish what we did. In the 4 years we were there, we went to 4 state championship games and we won 2 of them, so something to be very proud of. And last and least, I want to thank the committee for honoring me and choosing me, because there were so many guys out there that could have been where I'm standing right now. I just was a product of my pops coaching me, putting me in the right spot, the right position. So thank you very much, and that's my time.
Our next inductee, and I know he's way in back, is Alex Holmes. So I'll give you a chance to get up here. But Alex took a little different approach to the answers, which is very much appreciated. He wrote a poem about Washington High. And I will read this poem. Some of the lyrics, it went on too long, but this is truly something, that he wrote on his own, so let's go with it. Alex, you up here? You might want to get a chair. No, this is truly a treat. I spent 4 years in the halls of the great Washington High. Over 10 years have passed since. Boy, does time fly. There are many people that influenced my time while playing many sports, from incredible coaches, family, friends, and great teammates, some in tiny shorts. To thank everyone who had a lasting impact on my life would take far too long, and with so many people to thank, I'm sure I'd miss someone, and that would just be wrong. So instead, I'll share some lessons that I learned along the way. My time playing sports at Washington still impacts my life today. Playing basketball for the Warriors taught me the importance of working as a team. There is great power in one group of people, all with a common dream. It also taught me, when I was in doubt, trust your gut and always take your shot, whether it's school or in life or just in the game, which I did an awful lot. Nothing has had a more lasting impact than running for the Orange and Black. Now that I'm a cross-country coach, it's really fun to stop and look back. Running taught me determination, perseverance, and hard work are the recipe for success. But success doesn't always mean winning. Sometimes it's simply doing your very best. I graduated from Washington a long time ago, but never lost the desire to run. I'm still running to this day, thanks to all the amazing people who help make it so much fun. To be inducted to the Hall of Fame with this incredible group is really quite surreal. They are great teammates, great friends, and multiple-time state champs. They are the real deal. So thank you for this incredible honor and for allowing me to play. Those opportunities changed my life and helped shape the person I am today. So let us welcome and introduce and induct our friend Alex Holm into the Washington High Hall of Fame.
That was a really long intro, and I have a lot more to say, so bear with me. It's really just an incredible honor to be here and be inducted with this group. Similar to Sadie, I was feeling very confused when I got the call. This group is, put together of just incredible athletes, multiple-time state champions. I'm a little confused as to why I'm up here. And so, thinking back, there are so many people that I want to thank, and I don't want to miss anyone. So I'll give a few shout outs here and there, but instead I wanted to go through some fast facts about my athletic career. So fact number one, my first buzzer beater ever actually wasn't a buzzer beater. My coach, John Ashlock, who was my third grade coach, he yells out the time we're playing in a small gym. You can't really see how much time's left on the shot clock or on the scoreboard. And he yells out 30 seconds. And I thought he said 3 seconds. So I shot the ball from half court and I made it. And we celebrated like we just won a national championship. The other team inbounds it, scores the basketball. We're still celebrating. And he calls a timeout and he says, "Alex, why'd you shoot it?" And I said, "Well, you said there was 3 seconds." And he said, "No, there was 30 seconds. So that was my first buzzer beater ever, which was wonderful. I had a great middle school running career thanks to my wonderful coach, Shane Riley. The only loss I had in my middle school running career actually came from Hall of Fame inductee Matt Hermanson. We were running the 200, and I was not a 200 runner. I was a distance runner. And I'm in lane 6, gun goes off. All these guys are like in their blocks. Matt's like, this is just monster of a human, even in whatever 8th grade. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? He's using blocks. I'm like, I don't know what this is. And I'm just standing there, gun goes off, and everybody just flies past me. And I'm like, oh no. And so I've turned on the jets a little bit. I still took second, but Matt Hermanson was my one and only loss in my middle school career. So thank you for that, Matt. Appreciate it. The third fast fact, my most told story that I tell about my career looking back is actually not about myself, but about how incredible Josh Heitkamp was. Josh Heitkamp was a phenomenal runner. I believe he was inducted last year. And my favorite story to tell about Josh, we had a home meet at Washington High School, and if you've ever been to Washington's track, there's only one, it's the home stretch where everyone can be. And at this meet, Josh was gonna pace me to run a state qualifying time in the mile. And gun goes off, we're running 5:30 or 4:35 pace, it's all good, and I tuck right behind Josh as I'm supposed to, and everything's going well, and then we come around the home stretch, and there's all these people in the stands, and Josh turns around and starts screaming, "You gotta be right here, home. If you wanna make state, you gotta be right here." He wanted to let everybody know that I was not keeping up with Josh. He was simply pacing me, which was really wonderful. He went on to then, do this the next 2 laps, turn on the burners in the 4th lap. I think he beat me by probably 20 seconds, but I did qualify for state, so thank you, Josh. The fourth fast fact, I'm not a very superstitious person, but I had very superstitious fans. Barb Haugen, being one of them, would wear the same outfit down to the underwear, I believe. Sorry, Barb. Every basketball game. It was a running joke in our family, and it was wonderful to have a support system like that. And then the fifth fast fact, and my last one. Sorry for taking your time, but I'm more comfortable dribbling with my left hand than my right hand, even though I shoot with my right hand. And the reason for this, I was in the 6th grade, starting to really fall in love with the game of basketball. And my dad had just installed cameras outside of our garage and our driveway. And he tells me that he's gonna be watching me, on these cameras. And for the entire day, I had to shoot and dribble with my left hand. And now, at the time, this technology did not exist. He could not watch me from his work, with these cameras. But I was like, oh my goodness, now I have to play left-handed this whole day. This is going to be terrible. And now, because of that day, I'm more comfortable dribbling with my left hand. So you're asking yourselves, Alex, why are you sharing these fast facts? Well, I learned a lot from these things. So that first buzzer beater taught me that you got to work for things. It wasn't a glamorous start to my basketball career, and after a lot of hard work and dedication, years later, Coach Jim Trett designs an awesome play. I believe it was one of my last, or maybe my favorite buzzer beater as a Warrior. He draws up a beautiful play. Matt Hermanson throws a just absolute dime, 3/4 of the court to Connor Wildfear, who jumps and tips it to me. And I catch it in stride and drill a 3. And this one was actually at the buzzer, not with 30 seconds left. So that was a pretty awesome thing. So learned a lot. That continuing to work hard, it'll go places. That loss to Matt Hermanson, taught me that accepting defeat is hard, even to someone as humble as Matt. In athletics and in life, there's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. There's going to be injuries, lows, setbacks, but you got to take them in stride. Realize that maybe you shouldn't be running your mile pace and you just start sprinting, and just keep going. Joshy pacing me at that race taught me that there's always somebody to chase, even if it's a good friend, to continue to drive and to be better. And I had a lot of incredible teammates, not just Josh, that pushed me to be great. My superstitious fans taught me that I have a pretty incredible support system around me. My 3 best friends, Tim and Austin, I've been best friends with since the 1st grade. And they loved me through my hyper-competitive nature. My sisters, Beth and Kristen, not the most athletically gifted people in the world, but Kristen, just kidding. Shout out Kristen's golf career and tennis. Kristen, you're wonderful. Their support and love was incredible, and that support system that I have continues to grow. My wife, Kim, and my kids, who I apologize for, they're knocking stuff over and whatnot. But they're, wonderful and here supporting me tonight. And that day that my dad asked me to play left-handed, taught me that I have some pretty awesome parents. My mom, my dad, I love you very much. You lied to me that day, and I'm really grumpy about it. But I learned that you guys would love me, push me to be my best, and you always do, no matter the outcome. And whether it was sports or parenting, you guys continue to bring the best out of me. So, again, I apologize for your time. There's a long poem. Thanks for reading that. Again, there are so many people that I want to thank, but for now, thank you. This is a truly incredible honor. Can't believe I'm here. So go Warriors. Yeah.
Our next inductee is Brandon Moore. Brandon's walk-up song is Back Where I Come From by Kenny Chesney. All I need to know, I learned at Washington High, to work hard, have great integrity, and control what you can control. The most influential people to Brandon while he was at Washington High, Steve Kennedy. Steve was the head coach of the sophomore team. Steve was more than a football coach and has become an amazing mentor and friend of mine as I've gone into this teaching and coaching profession. He's the epitome of a servant leader who has given countless hours of time to try and help students and athletes from all over the Sioux Falls area. Brian Hermanson. Herm is the most motivational, hardworking, and dedicated coach I've ever met. He has given more time into development of young people in Sioux Falls than anyone I know. What phrase best describes you? My uncle told me, in fact, he had it on a wrist tape, big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. Washington High is very proud to induct and welcome Brandon Moore into the Hall of Fame. Brandon?
Thank you, Jeff, for that introduction. Thank you to the committee for honoring me with this tonight. It's really, really humbling, to be honest. I was a little surprised when I got that same text. I shouldn't say text. Herm called me out last year at a football event that I was at and asked if I would be willing to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And at the time, I was super ecstatic. I was like, hey, this is going to be awesome. Yeah, you bet. I want to do that forever. Then I was reminded you had to give a speech. I was like, dang. I've been teaching for 7 years. I speak in front of kids every day. But you see a room full of people like this, spotlights are on. Boy, the nerves are they're just there. So give me a little grace here as I imagine all of you as 5-year-olds for the next couple minutes here. And probably read some of this straight off the phone as I wrote it, because I think I'm going to get emotional at the end. Might just happen, okay? It really is amazing how time flies. I can remember 11 years ago now. I know we're supposed to go in at 10 years, but we can thank COVID for bouncing that back a year. We're on 11 years here since we graduated. And 11 years ago, I was actually sitting at that table over there, where those guys are. And so you guys can think 10 years from now, you're going to be up here giving this speech, and remember, you got to give it. So, but as I sat there, I vaguely remember what the people are up here saying. I didn't really know any of them. Most of them are a little bit older than me. Obviously, still very respectable people. But the thing that stuck out to me that I heard from those people was that it's not necessarily the games. It's not championships. It's people and memories with those people that you remember. And so, well, most of the time you remember the people, but then if your friend's Kenny Fiddler, he reminds you that if you didn't fumble in the state championship game, I would have gotten to run my trick play, Dolphin, and I'd be standing where you are today instead of you being up there. So, but with that being said, I tried to think back to just some minor things that I could remember, some memories from Washington. Yeah, we played a lot of games, we won some championships, there might be some really great statistics, and that's all fun and games, but what really makes Washington special is the people. So I can remember, I talked about, they get better after this one. I talked about Herm being a great mentor to me and great motivator. Well, my first taste of Washington High School was actually when I was in 8th grade, and I've been playing basketball against Herm, little Herm, in the winter time, and he's like, hey, we've got throwing. Well, throwing is football practice in the spring, and I'm going to say that now because Herm doesn't coach anymore, and we're bending the rules a little bit. So, so Herm said, hey, I can pick you up and we can go up to the gym, we can throw some footballs around in the morning. So Herm goes to pick me up on, I think it was like Tuesday or Thursday morning, and I forgot that Herm was going to come pick me up. So Mom yells downstairs, Herm's here. I'm still laying in bed. So I get dressed in the dark, go out, get in Herm's truck, I walk into the gym at Washington High School, and the first person I see is previous Hall of Fame inductee Tim Marlette, great football player. I'm like, oh, Tim Marlette's walking over to me, this is going to be awesome. Comes over, thinking he's going to be like, hey, welcome to the team, like, good to see you. Tim goes, what in the heck are you wearing? And I go, what are you talking about? And I look down. Well, I had a brand new t-shirt that I had got from a basketball tournament that was a fundraiser for the Roosevelt football team. And I'm wearing a Roosevelt Rough Rider football shirt to my first event as a Washington football player. So a little bit memorable. Like I said, it's not necessarily about the games we played, but it's the memories we made off the field and the friendships we made. And I can think of the guy that you're going to listen to talk to next, who's probably sitting back there nervous. And so Devin is one of my best friends, and he came down from Watertown, actually. And when he showed up, we were inviting Devin into the team, and Herm was always, hey, you got to look the same. Nobody stands out as an individual around here. And some of us took that a little far. So we all had buzz cuts, but Devin had these beautiful, and you'll see it up here in a second, these beautiful frosted tips. They're a little long. So a couple teammates and I, including one that's sitting over there with the giant mullet now, we decided that Devin's hair needed to be cut. He's got to look like the rest of us. So after a trip to Walmart, about an hour later, you fast forward, and we've got Devin pinned to the ground in a friend of ours' driveway, and Devin screams out, if you cut my hair, my mom's going to make me go to a gourmet. I go, I'm calling your bluff. Darcy's not here tonight, and I thought Darcy would enjoy this, but I got Darcy on the old banana phone there, and I'm talking to Darcy, and Darcy has the same story that Devin does. She goes, you better not cut his hair. We'll send him off. So we did not cut Devin's hair, although he did join the club and he did get rid of him. Those three, me, Devin, and Kenny, we've all been in each other's weddings and have become the best of friends. So sure, some might think of that as bullying, but we created best friends and lifelong relationships with that, okay? The last one, I was looking up there earlier, and it said two-sport athlete, football, did play some football, and track. And most of you are probably wondering, you look up there, and there's not any pictures of me running track. And that's because there's a few people in here that are multiple sport athletes that chose to go out for track, and then the rest of them were told by Herm that they had to go out for track. And I was one of the ones that was told that they had to go out for track. And I was talking about those other two yahoos earlier, and most of my memories on the track team were when Coach Riley or Coach Herm or Coach Folsom would tell us we were going to go run miles. And we would sneak out, and everybody else would go down to 10th Street or 26th Street or 18th Street, and they'd get their miles in. And we would sneak out the back door, and we'd either run one McKnight mile into the weight room, and after we got caught doing that, we went to Devin's house and we ate food until we decided that we'd been there long enough to come back and go to the weight room without getting caught. So, most of my memories that really stick out to me were memories that were made with my buddies off of the field. And a lot of those guys are out in the the crowd tonight. That being said, I'm going to read through this last part because I think I might get a little emotional here. So, as I start to wrap this up, I think it's clear that WH is a special place to many people. You've heard that from many of the inductees tonight. And it's not special because of flashy facilities or cool uniforms or anything like that. It's special because of the people. Okay? There are so many people, many of which are here tonight, that Washington High School is the world to them. They've instilled warrior pride in many students. They live it, they bleed it, they're all about it. And truly, without those types of people, I wouldn't be up here tonight. So with that being said, I'd like to say thank you to all the teammates and classmates. I was classmates with almost every inductee here tonight. I played sports with about every one of you. Thank you for helping me become a better person. Thank you to those of you that treated me as one of your own. Oh, that was, yeah, I'm going to skip part of that part. Sorry. Thank you to the coaches at Washington. There's a bunch of you out here tonight. There's a bunch of you that I currently coach with. I now understand how much time you put into things and how much time you sacrifice. And it's really meaningful. We really, really, really appreciate it. And lastly, I want to say thank you to my family. Thank you for your continued support over the years. I'm truly spoiled to have a family that cares as much as you do. The amount of sacrifices that you have made over the years just to watch me play football. Or run track, I guess. Maybe not as much in that aspect. But it's truly unbelievable. And as a father of 2 days, I can start to understand that there's a lot of sacrifices that you've made just for me. And you continue to do. As a coach now, I still have family that tries to get to my games all the time, and it really does mean the world to me. And thank you guys for showing up here tonight. I'm grateful to be a part of something as special as the Washington High School Hall of Fame. I'd like to say congratulations to the rest of the inductees, and thank you all for showing up tonight. It really does mean the world. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Devin O'Farrell. His lead-up song is Lions by Chase Rice. What he learned at Washington High, I'll let Devin get up here, he's sitting in back there too. Be disciplined. Athletes at Washington showed me how important having discipline really is. The ability to sacrifice, to do the tedious little things right now so you can be ready and win when it matters later. Have some pride. Not only are you representing yourself, but you're representing your family and people who believe in you. If you're going to do something, give it everything you have or don't do it. You can always push yourself harder, push yourself further, and make yourself better. Improving is never ending. Enjoy the process. Devin gives credit to 3 coaches: Coach Mark Murrin, Coach Jamin Ratzlaff, and Coach Hermanson. The amount of belief these coaches had in me from the beginning is a giant reason why I'm having the honor of joining these great athletes in the Hall of Fame. I will be forever grateful for their major role they've all played and continue to play in my life. And the phrase that best describes Devin and his choosing, I believe the easiest thing a person can do to do better the entirety of their life is to consistently challenge themselves physically. This quote has become a mission statement of my life. And I know Devin will expound on this, and he's learned a lot. Sioux Falls, Washington High is so very proud to induct Devin O'Farrell.
Thanks everybody for being here tonight. I really appreciate you guys all making the trip. Brandon, I appreciate you saying all those stories, making me laugh a little bit, because I was pretty nervous about this coming up to the stand. So you chilled me out a little bit. I want to take some time and just kind of tell you a little bit before I came to Washington. A lot of people probably don't know this, but before I got to Washington, I really didn't want anything to do with Washington or Sioux Falls, for that matter. I was in Watertown. I had a friend group established. I thought they had a great athletic program there, and I had zero intentions of leaving that place. I knew we were moving, but I was going to find a way to stay there. Plans change, apparently. And once we actually got to Sioux Falls, we started touring the schools. And I had it in my mind, like I said, that I wasn't actually going to be here for very long. I was leaving. So, wasn't feeling any of the schools out. And one day we get this phone call from this coach, and he's going to meet us at Washington High School, and he's going to give us a tour. And that coach is Mark Murren. Yeah. And when I met Coach Murren, I knew in an instant, I cannot go to school here. He hasn't spoken yet, but he's gonna, and you'll understand, this guy's a character. And I really wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to be a part of that. And the funnier part about it is he actually brought his son with that day, and John's sitting right here, and I'm just gonna say, I love you, buddy. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But actually, what actually made me come to Washington again was Coach Herm was there as well. He invited me into the weight room. And in all seriousness, yes, it was the weight room that got me there. I'm a meathead. I get it. He can save the jokes for later because I know he's over there thinking about it right now. But I knew football season was right around the corner, and I knew if I didn't get in there, there was going to be issues. So I showed up for the workout, and once the lift was over, Coach Herm pulled me aside. We went down this hallway, and he asked me what my favorite number was. And next thing I knew, I had a helmet in my hand, some football pads, and all this Washington high school football gear. Yeah. And it happened so fast, I wasn't really sure what happened. At the time, I hadn't made the decision to go to Washington yet, but that was fine because Coach Herm made it for me. And when I showed up at home with this probably confused and dumbfounded look on my face, I met my mom at the door and was just like, I guess I'm going to Washington. So a few days after getting those pads, Washington had their football camp, and I met my first position coach, Jamin Ratzloff. And I'm not sure there's a bigger Washington fan than Coach Ratzloff. I've actually seen pictures of this man way back when he was in high school. And believe it or not, he had that same beautiful bald head back then too. So what I didn't know at the time is Ratzloff's an English teacher, and so he has a pretty creative way of, well, let's not say making fun of you, let's just say motivating you. And so somewhere between writing a haiku and motivating me, he taught me a lot about the history of Washington High School. And that was contagious. Before I knew it, I was hooked. I had more black and orange clothes in my closet than a Harley Davidson historian. But like I said, the love for that school was contagious, and the amount of times I've heard my mom say, "Oh, I love that coach," and the amount of times I've heard my family say, "Oh, I remember those Washington days," or "I miss those Washington days," is ridiculous. And you know, I could stand up here all night, and I could thank numerous people, and it would take up all your time, because I could tell you all the different stories that I've had with teachers, with coaches, and just faculty at Washington High School. And I could tell you all the little tidbits and all the things that I've pulled from those and I use today. The bottom line is this, is I had the best environment a high school kid ever could have had. And it was because of all you people that were there. It was because of Washington High School and the staff. I have mentors today that I can count on forever. I have friends that have become family. And I was actually able to meet the love of my life there. And so I thank all of you for being a part of that, for bringing me in when you didn't really know me, teaching me and helping me grow, and for so much more. I'm forever grateful to always be able to say, I'm a Washington Warrior.
Jeez, Devin, put the pressure on.
Yeah, right? The dog.
Well, here we are, the last inductee of the evening. It's my pleasure to talk a little bit about Coach Murrin. I've actually known Mark since we were in high school. As I said before, he went to Lincoln, I went to Washington. In those days, most Whittier kids went to Lincoln. But a sprinkling of Whittier kids came to Washington, and I had some friends at Washington here who were also good friends of Murrin and Mike Teslo's and some of these guys, and I was really afraid of them in high school because of what I heard. Obviously I was wrong, but I will tell you this, and Mike was included too. I think, Mike, you were class of 75 at Lincoln, weren't you? But the 73 Lincoln High School football team, which Mark and Mike were on, is probably one of the best football teams. Jerry Miller was the coach, and Jerry's here tonight. It's probably one of the best football teams that Sioux Falls has ever had. And I'm not taking anything away from any of our Washington High teams, but that was back in a day where you looked at the cleats and the helmets and everything, and it was very Neanderthal. But those kids were darn good. And we almost beat them when we were sophomores in football, and they just creamed us when we were seniors. But an excellent football team. So whatever Mark says up here, don't let him get away with not letting you know that he was a darn good football player. Mark has been honored at the national level, the local level for state coaches. He has coached in several different school districts, but primarily at Washington High. When I first heard Mark had gotten hired at Washington High, I thought, what? These Lincoln people coming here? No one has given more to Washington High in every aspect. When I first came to Washington, Mark was working in the office when Jan Nikolai would be in Pierre. Mark would handle. It was interesting to listen to Mark make the announcements at the end of the day. That was one of my favorite parts. But Mark was always there. And I don't know if there's any time Washington High has ever asked Mark to do something that he said no. And he joyfully, gladfully is always there. Mark actually is a very humble person. When we talked about the induction tonight, I said, well, give me your walk-up song. Nothing, you know, and he sent me a nice list of things, but there's definite humbleness here, which sometimes with Mark, you might not think that's the case. Anybody that ever has been at New Washington, or let's call it current Washington, and you were at a homecoming activity, you heard Mark sing songs. Now, Mark, correct me on this one, but one of my favorites was My Tractor Thinks I'm Sexy. She thinks my tractor. Well, that's better than your tractor's thinking you're sexy. Looking at some of those things coming home from Big Stone last week, that wouldn't be very good. My kids had Mark as a teacher, and one of our favorite things to do when we ever did sit around the table and have dinner together was tell Mr. Murrin stories about what he taught. And actually, one of my kids had Mark for sex education. I'm just going to leave that there. He's on the school board now, so I could really have some fun getting on the agenda there. One thing before I bring Mark up is he was supposed to be first. And he said, Jeff, I got to be last. And I said, well, I don't care when you speak. So Mark was chosen to be last. He was supposed to be first tonight. But my dad went to Hawthorne and knew Lee Murrin. And he would tell Mark stories. My mom subbed at Washington for years while my dad was waiting for my mom to come out. And Mark thoroughly enjoyed those stories about Lee Murrin. And my dad said, I like Lee Murrin, but he said, he was the toughest son of a gun I'd ever met in my life. And so there were good stories there. So there's a connection there that I'm very grateful for, and Mark's wonderful family and the support they've given. But, you know, Mark would take kids in wrestling, and he would take kids, they were on the edge. They weren't going to be very successful. And he made so many of those kids turn out so well that it really warmed your heart. You don't talk about winning championships when you're turning kids' lives around. Championships are wonderful, but when you're taking kids' lives and you're making that kind of difference in a very unique way. If you ever went in to use the phone in the coach's office, you usually saw Mark's cowboy boots, and anyway, we'll let that go at that. But I had a friend once when I was still coaching. I was coaching girls basketball. They wanted to use the phone, and I said, well, you can't use the girls right now. And so I'll go down there, and they came out, and they were just pale, white as a ghost. I said, there's a guy standing in his underwear and his cowboy boots that said, go ahead and use the phone. Mark, I'm not trying to embarrass you, but you are a genuine person, and you are truly loved by Washington High School. So without further ado, Washington High School is so proud to introduce and induct Coach Mark Murren into the Washington High Hall of Fame.
Well, if you can screw up and still get Devin O'Farrell, good things are happening. He walked in the door that day, and I said to myself, wow. And Devin and I had quite a relationship. It was fun. I got a little story about him later, but first of all, I'm humbled to be here. I don't know, I just did what I loved. I loved it, and it was fun. I want to congratulate the rest of the honorees and all of you that came here. I hope you had a good time, and these are special things for everybody. So I do want to thank the Washington High School Hall of Fame for lowering their standards and allowing me to enter. The guy that really started this, his name was Jim Denovan. We were sitting in the locker room, and I had my boots on. And we're just going to leave that alone for now. Jim said to me, hey, Coach, how come we don't have a Washington High School Hall of Fame? And I said, well, I don't know. He goes, well, we got one where I'm from. And I, well, that's nice. And we went and talked to Barry Baumhoff, and Barry Baumhoff was, I think he was there a year when we talked about this. And then there's a guy that moved in from Hamlin, South Dakota. And we said, Wayne, we'd really like to have a Hall of Fame. 6 months later, we had one. So if you want the guy that really put it on the paper was Wayne. So, everybody that achieves anything has people around them that they love and love them and support them. And I've been blessed to have so many wonderful people in my life. My mom and dad were blue collar people. I mean, it wasn't you're going to go shovel some snow. No, you're going to go shovel some snow, and it's going to be in a hurry. So that's the way it was, and it was fun to be to have my dad. My dad was a World War II Marine Raider, and it was I didn't realize until I was 55 years old why my dad was the way he was, and it was a great guy. I always knew he loved me, but he'd show it in different ways. Like maybe you got kicked in the butt, or maybe you got slapped in the back of the head. But it wasn't, I always knew that my dad loved me. It was not a question. It wasn't child abuse, that was my dad's love. Although I do remember that I would sit in his lap till I was about 5 and fall asleep every night. But my dad had a different way of showing it. But I've been blessed by many people. My wife, Luann, of 43 years. Can you imagine what Rich Greeno thought when I walked up to the door? 1973. Rosemary, help. But Luann has been super. Her dad was a coach, so maybe it was easier for her. But, for a long time I coached 3 sports, and I tried to get her to buy, when I was in Canton, 80 acres of ground, and she goes, I'm not living in the country. I'm not going to be home alone. You're never here. I said, well, I'll buy you a dog. We're not having a dog. But my kids are here, and they had to put up with a lot of things. When your dad's a coach, and sometimes when you don't win, you don't come home happy. And I think Amy wrote a little story one time about that. I know, I couldn't help it. But both Amy, Emily, and John were Washington High graduates. Great kids. My son-in-law's here tonight, Paul Heinert. He's a White River graduate. And the good thing about him is I get to hunt deer in his dad's land every year. But anyway, the two kids that run my house now are Miles Heinert and Leighton Heinert. And they're a lot of fun. In my career at Washington High School, I was, it started out a little rough. I got hired by Jan Nicolai, and in those days you interviewed with the superintendent and the AD and all these other people, and everybody that thought there was somebody at the IPC. But it was a pretty interesting interview, and it was fun. It was the best thing that happened to me. I was sitting on the couch, I was reading the Argus Leader and the ads, and wrestling positions open at Washington High. And I said to my wife, I don't know. She goes, well, just apply. What do you got to lose? So I applied and I got the job, and I think she was just surprised as I was. But, it was good. It worked good. And I got to work with such great people there. I've coached in 4 high schools and some great coaches. I coached with Max Hawk at Yankton and Riddell Copland at Canton. And if you want to talk old school, those guys, I don't think they must have went to school like in corn cribs or something. I mean, but they were really good coaches. And then when I went to Washington, I got to work with 4 super guys. Kim Nelson. We were kind of in a drift, and we just couldn't get it together. And Kim came, and I call him the guy that made the turn, because we were heading just kind of on a level spot. Kim got there, and we made a turn. We started heading up the hill, and we got better and better. My favorite story is about Kim. We're going down to play Heelan. The entire faculty's telling us, oh, I hope nobody gets hurt, and I hope, you can come back and be healthy. And we're listening to it all week, and I'm thinking, well, maybe they're right. But I'm sitting in the back of the room, and the whole team's there, and all of a sudden Kim goes, hey, I'm going to tell you something. They're the ones that are going to get hurt. Yes. Not us. We're going to put it on, and we're going to go down there. I'm sick and tired of hearing that. I'm not going to hear it anymore. So we go down there. We go out in the field, and we're talking to their head coach. Remember that, coach? And the guy's like, oh, okay, guys, thanks for coming. It's like, we're going to kick your butt. Glad to have you. And we put it on them big time. It was so much fun. I don't know if I could sit down on the bus in Wyoming. And Kim did that for us, and he reinvented Washington. It was contagious with all the other sports in the school. It really was. And great coach. Then we got Brian Hermanson. Now, I'll tell you something about Brian. You might not know this, but he gets excited. I never seen a guy 5'10" jump like 8 feet in my life. And I say this about Brian. If you've seen the Ever Ready Bunny, he's the Ever Ready Bunny with a 12-volt battery. I mean, this guy's like... But he was a great coach and continued with Kim's success. Chad Statham came. The thing it was hard to make an adjustment, because from Brian to Chad was like an empty plate and a full plate. I mean, it was like Chad is calm as a cucumber. I mean, he just like steady. So it was an adjustment for me, but it worked out well. And under pressure, the guy's amazing. I mean, he never really, I saw him lose his temper a couple times, but not really much. And now we have Ryan Evans, and I only got to coach with Ryan Evans a couple years, 3 years, I guess. My last year coaching was 1920. Oh, 2020. But anyway, we had a good time. And he's going to be a great coach. We had a tough year this year, but I went to their games. They improved every week. They improved every week. They got better, and they played hard. And if you can play hard, you're going to win some games. Guy I didn't coach with, but was a great mentor to me, is my father-in-law, Rich Carino. That guy's a class act. I mean, he is a class act. We would go to coaching cliques, and he'd be in bed by 9, and I'd get home with Jerry Miller about 2. And then Jerry would jump in bed with him. But we had a lot of fun. And we went to a lot of clinics. When I was at the Sioux Falls public schools and I was at Washington High School, we were really fortunate to have great principals and administrators. Jan Nicolai, if you don't know her, okay? I found out again, I ran for the school board, and her and Carla helped me. And it was like working for them again. And it was great. And Jan got it started. I mean, she is an amazing woman, and she loves children. And she hired some great people. Kim knows that. Nobody's going to get to you. Not a parent, not anybody else in the district. But if she got to you, yeah. But she was great. I mean, she a great administrator. I love her. And then Carla Midland, who babysat my wife in Yankton when she was growing up. Isn't this a small world? Bill Hoff, Jamie Knoll, and Dan Conrad, and poor Dan. He not only is a teacher, but I was a coach for him. And I think I scarred him a little bit. But he made it. And now we have Carrie Papke, who's just, I think she's great. And what I liked about the administrators, including the ADs, Barry Baumhoff, Wayne, Kevin, and now little Nate Melchow, they lead. Okay, I didn't want an administrator that was going to be wobbling around. Stand up straight, okay? You're going to be in charge, and they were, all of them. And that was the great thing about Washington High School. Teachers didn't run the building, kids didn't run the building, okay? Parents didn't run the building. They ran them. They ran the school, and they did a wonderful job. So I appreciate them. So I do like administrators. Now I work with a fine administrator that's a superintendent of schools. And the other day I was trying to impress her because I had my phone out and I put all these dates in there. And for me, that's like, wow. So I hold it up and I said, yeah, see your appointment's right here. She goes, spelled my name wrong. Oh, I'm sorry. And she didn't chew me out or anything. Jamie Knoll was sitting at a table in Watertown, and we were up there for the Watertown dual tournament. I sit down and I go, hey, I need an assistant coach. Jim Dinneman just going to move on. I think he became a principal. I don't know. Everybody goes downhill sometimes. But Jim, and I said, hey, if you want to coach, I need an assistant. I will get you a job at Washington High School. He looked at me like, oh, well, sure, Fatty. Yeah. So 3 weeks later, he got hired. And what a great contribution to Sioux Falls Public Schools. Wayne Carney, I got called to the office to talk to Jan, and you get to see me or come on in to see Jan, I'm telling you, I was like. So I sit down and she goes, you know Wayne Carney? I said, the Carnac? The great Carnac, Wayne Carney? Yeah. I know him. Well, what do you think? I said, this guy's outstanding. You got to hire him. And she did. She listened to me, of course. And that story is true, but not quite in that, I embellished it somewhat. I had great assistant coaches. I tell you what, I coached for wrestling for 39 years. Somebody said, why didn't you coach for 40? Because I said I wasn't smart enough to quit at 20. But I loved it. It's fun. Wrestling's such a personal sport, especially with kids, because you travel together and it's just, we get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and weigh in. We go to Aberdeen and get home at 3. And it was wrestling's just an intense sport, and if you like it, it's great. If you don't, get out. But it's the kind of thing where once kids get it, they get it. And I read an article in Forbes magazine about 5 years ago, and these guys were talking about hiring wrestlers and how they liked hiring wrestlers because wrestlers would sacrifice. They're used to not eating, and how hard they would work. And I think it's true. I do. But my 42 years of coaching, I had great assistants. If you coach wrestling with me, would you please stand up so I can give you a hand? Come on. Doug, where are you? Everybody, stand up. There's Ernie, Jamie. The greatest thing about the guys that coached with me, in coaching, loyalty is a big deal. It's a big deal. Because people that are loyal work together, they can you know, throw things back and forth. Loyalty's huge, and these guys were loyal, every one of them, and I appreciated it so much. And they get after me once in a while because I do stupid stuff, and but they were just good people to have in the room. The last 3 guys that I had probably kept me in the sport for a couple of years because I was tired, you know. But I was so blessed with assistants, and even the guys that I coached football with. Now, you know, I don't know how. Well, you can tell someone you're grateful, and you can say thank you, and you can do those things. But I'm just telling you, people that I coach with at Washington High School, they're top shelf. A few of them fell down, got a couple of dents in their cans, but they're good guys. I love teaching and coaching. I turned my resignation in early because I was afraid I wouldn't turn it in. And I'm sure my wife said, turn in your resignation. You're too old. My time at Washington was outstanding for many, many reasons, but 99% were the people that I worked with and the people that attended. Okay? And if you can't get excited about that, go, because it's great. How do you coach for 42 years? I don't know. And everything else do. But it was just something that I decided, and I was mentored by some great people. And Whittier Middle School was a tough place to go to school when I was there. It was fun. I mean, you can ask some of the rounders over there sitting in the chairs. Don't tell me. So they're here tonight supporting. We've been friends for over 50 years. I don't know how you keep friends that long. Maybe nobody else wants anything to do with you, but these guys have been great. But at Whittier, I had Phil Meademan. Phil passed away here recently, and Phil had me against the wall under my armpits, and he's like 6'5", and I'm like 5'3". And I'm looking down like, don't drop me. But he was a great guy and a great coach. Gary Reed, Leroy Holstenson, Kay Ludeman, Terry Midland were just outstanding people to have as mentors. And in high school, I had Jerry Miller, great coach, great guy. Been a personal friend of mine for many, many years. Chuck Davis. Chuck, it's tough for me. Chuck was one of my high school coaches, and we coached with him. And I always say we called him Ground Chuck, because he was always mad at Kim because he wouldn't run the quarterback sneak. But it was fun. And then we had Frank Kurtenbach, coach wrestling there, Bob Clark, and Vern Suckaway. And they were good guys. They're great people, all of them. I was lucky because I needed to do it. I got to tell this story. Devin O'Farrell, okay? This story is entitled Devin and the Farm Boy. So Devin comes to Washington High School, and there's this person from another town. I don't want to get it. So anybody that's in wrestling will figure it out. But and Devin had lost to this kid since he was like 5 for 1 point here, 1 point there in youth wrestling, whatever, middle school. So we matches up. I mean, they're same weight, whatever. And he beats Devin like every time by 1 or 2 points. So when Devin's a senior, I told him, you're going to win it. It's going to happen. So fortunately, we had a guy named Lance Peters who came. And Lance was a college wrestler at Augustana, and he was the assistant. He's now the current head coach at Washington High School. And Devin and Lance would get after it. I'd look down there and go, no swinging. But no, and it was a blessing for Devin, and it was a blessing for Lance. But Devin O'Farrell beat Farm Boy 3 times that year. He beat him early, in the middle, beat him in Brookings, I think, didn't you? I don't remember. And then Devin only lost 1 match his senior year to a guy that was a 3-time NCAA All-American. And he's now the coach in Harrisburg. But Devin battled through a lot of things. New kid coming from H2Oville. I remember when I met him, he didn't want to come. And I'm like, I'm going to get this guy. Herm, get over here. So, I've been blessed by get to be a professional. I don't know how professional I was, but I'm in the profession. But I was so lucky. First of all, parents let me coach their kids. Second of all, kids let me coach them, and administrators didn't fire me. But what I learned from coaching kids for 42 years, it's more important what you leave. Okay, it's not what you take, it's what you leave. Okay, what'd you leave? What'd you stand for? Who were you? Were you that guy that they said, I know what you stand for. I know what you're about. And I had a unique way of teaching coaching. I'll admit it. When I'd lose my temper, I'd do things I shouldn't do. And even in the classroom, I didn't tolerate things. I don't think I sent more than 3 or 4 kids to the office in 31 years at Washington High, but there were some tense conversations. And although I was good with people that were bad, because maybe we had some common interests. I don't know. But it always seemed to work for me, and about 90% of the time, I'd have them a couple days on my side. So I was lucky to teach at Washington High School and coach for 31 years. I was lucky to coach for 43 years. I had great administrators, great teachers. I worked with great coaches. Jim Trett and Mike Piper, we all kind of came at the same time. And Kim's 6 months younger than I am. Jim's 6 months older than I am. I'm in the middle. And I thought I was the most clever of them. But it was fun. I think that we forget the little things in life. And as a young coach, I thought winning was more important than building young men. And I did some dumb things. Dan can attest to that. But as I got older, I realized it's not about me. Okay, it's not me. It's them. I'm for them guys. I wasn't for Nick and I and every other assistant coach. We're about kids. We love kids, and that's all you can do. So I'm going to end this shenanigan outfit I've been putting on up here, and I want to thank all of you for coming. I loved Washington High School, and I still do. I mean, I'm on the school board now, and the superintendent says, "Hey, little boy, you gotta be fair," and I am, kinda. And my passion now is K through 3 reading. How do I go from high school kids to K through 3? I don't go down there much, but I'm interested in how are we doing with our young kids. And I picked this up from the other board members and the superintendent. By the time you're in 3rd grade in math and reading, if you're behind a grade, it's hard to catch up, really hard. And I think we're making a lot of efforts in the Sioux Falls district. And I'm very proud to be on the school board. And I work with I work with 5 women, but, and it's okay. I actually enjoy it. They're intelligent, they're passionate, and they love kids. And that's all I need from you. And they are good. So I want to thank all of you for coming tonight. I'm sorry it took so long, but you got to admit, I was pretty funny. But I want to say this, go Warriors. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to all of the 2022 inductees. I think what I said at the very beginning proved to be very true. It's just an outstanding group of people, and we're so proud to induct you into the Washington High Hall of Fame. And you all did a wonderful job addressing, your experience and thanking the right people that you should have thanked, and we appreciate that. A couple things that I want to mention before I'm done. One of our original members was Dean Mann. And Dean was just recognized. They're naming an Army base after Dean. The state of South Dakota was on Kello the other night, probably on the other stations too. But Dean, up until last year, was coming to the Hall of Fame every year. And, there's some minor health issues going on. But if you get a chance to send Dean a note, congratulate him, because he was as Washington High as they come. In fact, if you go to the alumni room, there's a picture of the 49 Warriors and Coach Burns, and there's Dean sitting in the front row, and that was an outstanding team too. That's in Washington High. Howard Wood was where McDonald's and the Sears building is on the other side of the viaduct. That's where the Warriors played in those days. They marched from the school, the band, and that was quite a sight from what I'm told. A couple other things I just want to mention, a little bit scattered, but Ben Schumacher, will you step aside back there, Ben? Ben has been filming this for the district, and we want to thank Ben. He's been standing there all evening. And you can watch all of this from time to time on the district television station. And I choose not to watch myself, but I have people coming up, and I'm just like, oh, geez, what did I say? But they've done a great job with this and promoting, Sioux Falls and the district, and we thank you, Ben, for being here and spending the evening with us. I want Coach Chad Staten to stand up, and Ryan Evans to stand up. Will you just stand up? I'm not asking a lot, okay? These two started a few years ago bringing the seniors in football to Washington High for the senior football pictures. And they have really worked hard at keeping the connection of old Washington and current Washington. And I've had the privilege of being with them, Ryan, the last couple of years, and I just want to thank you guys for doing that. Whenever I had some memorabilia come my way that nobody else wanted, I'd call Chad or email, oh yeah, bring that over. And you guys have kept the tradition, and I really appreciate that, and all of us should appreciate that. Please give these people a hand. They've done a great job. Carrie Papke, I just want to thank you for celebrating the 100 years of Washington High OLD this year. We had a celebration down here. We had one at the current building with tours, and it was a fine program, and we had some great pictures and a lot of memories, and so that was an outstanding day also. Carla Midland and Jan Nikolai were down here, and enjoyed having them very much too. When I was helping out at Washington, and I still go over there once in a while, but a few years ago I was helping out quite a bit in the Commons area where Steve Sievertson and Mark and Doug Rinkin have been helping. And they used to put our plaques from the Hall of Fame. We used to get a plaque with our picture on it, and my plaque was up on the wall, and so I was doing cafeteria monitoring, and I said to this group of boys sitting at a table, I said, what do you think ever happened to that guy? Which of course was me. And they looked up there, and this kid goes, I don't know. And so the memories are ours, and while in 5 years we're often forgotten, hopefully you won't forget tonight ever. And to these outstanding seniors with us tonight, thank you also. And in closing, we welcome donations. In fact, I think with my John Odney Memorial, I'm going to give it to the Hall of Fame because I know he would appreciate that. And I'm not telling you what to do, but that is something that would really help, because finances and putting this together, it's always a real thin margin. And so any contribution that you can make, let Nate Malchow know. He would appreciate that. And once again, I told you I'd remind you of this, but if you have anybody in mind, please forward their names and do a write-up on them too, and the committee will consider. Even though I'm not on the committee, I know they will, and they'll appreciate that. And in closing, I just want to say, Mr. Hoff started this, and Jamie Knoll continued it, and so did Dan, but we would sing the school song. Now, I'm not going to ask you to sing the school song, but I love that, and I would stand with Sheila Wood, who was a teacher at Washington High, and her grandpa was Howard Wood. And we would sing on your program, if you'll look at it, the original 1920 song. Now, this is no diss on Lincoln High School or Roosevelt or Jefferson, but when I sing this song, it's still Sioux Falls High, and it always will be Sioux Falls High. Thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate it very much, and please come again. Take care.